Hello everyone, my name is Srini Khaldar. Welcome to ADHYYAN Defense Academy. And in today's episode, I'm going to give you a complete overview of the English section of the SPI GAT 2022 paper, right? So starting off with the details of it, as do we know that in 2022 as a SPI paper, we had a total 25 marks, right, from the section of English. So standing there, if I speak about the division of marks as the question paper had in incorporation, the question paper had total 10 questions from comprehension, right? Yeah. So the question paper contained 10 questions from the comprehension. So comprehension में से ये जो 10 questions थे, इसमें से एक question antonym और एक question synonym के ऊपर था. So antonym और synonym के questions को छोड़ के हमारे पास और भी 8 ऐसे questions थे जो comprehension से incorporate किए गए थे question paper पे. So comprehension से we had 10 questions. Spotting the errors, as the name implies itself, that spotting the errors are basically set of questions where we have to identify in which part of the sentence there is an error. मतलब कि हमें ये स्पॉट करना होता है कि वो जो सेंटेंस दिया गया हुआ है उसमें से कौन से पार्ट में कोई गलती है. तो वहां से वी हैड 5 मोर क्वेश्चंस, राइट. आफ्टर दैट वी हैड सेंटेंस इंप्रूवमेंट. तो सेंटेंस इंप्रूवमेंट में हमें क्या करना होता है, हमें पहले देखना होता है कि सेंटेंस के कौन से जगह पे गलती है और we have to substitute that portion of the sentence which has the error with something which sounds grammatically more correct, right, and more enriching. So that is what sentence improvement is, and in the paper of 2022 SPI we had 5 questions on sentence improvement. Lastly, speaking about the last section, we had a rearranging of jumble sentences. तो rearranging of jumble sentence में ऐसा क्या होता है, हमारे पास एक ही sentence के 4 टुकड़े होते हैं और हमें वो sentence को ऐसे अरेंज करना होता है ताकि वो अपना जो खुद का अर्थ है वो हमें बता सके. So what do we exactly do in rearranging jumble sentences? In rearranging jumble sentences, we have a whole sentence which is basically broken into 4 parts, right? And they are jumbled. They are placed in an order that does not convey a definite meaning. So our task is to basically identify the actual chronology of the sentence and rearrange the sentences so that they basically make a meaning out of. So, for the sake of your convenience, I have basically attached the question paper of 2022 SPI GAT along with the presentation. So as you might see, there we have the comprehension part, and the very first question, question number 76, is basically asking us about an antonym, right? So if we talk about it, what exactly do we understand when it comes down to the word antonym? So speaking about it, antonyms and synonyms, the exact two things which are basically there in our question paper. Antonym is basically the opposite word to something, right? So the first sentence is basically the antonym of misery. So let me just write it down here. So you see, the antonym of misery, we have 4 options. The first option being contentment, the second option being sick, the third option distress, and the fourth option none of these. So as do we know that the antonym for misery is gonna be contentment, right? So as I explained, antonym का अर्थ होता है विपरीत. So antonyms are basically words that tell us the opposite of a definite word, right? Now speaking about synonym, synonym might just sound very similar to antonym, but actually is very different from it. So synonyms are basically different words that have the same meaning. So standing there, you see the synonym of the word that we have been asked in the question paper is basically the word atrocity. So atrocity basically go with brutality, abomination, cruelty, all of them. So thus standing there, we can actually go with cruelty because cruelty is the word that defines atrocity to us the best, right? So the synonym for atrocity can be cruelty. right? So without any further delay, we'll just go to the next section of our question paper. As you can see, the next section is basically about spotting the errors. So as I told you before, spotting the error section में हमें क्या करना होता है, हमें कोई rectification नहीं करना होता, हमें rearrangement नहीं करना होता, हमें बस इतना पता होना है कि कौन से ये जो sentence दिया गया हुआ है, इसके कौन से part में कोई गलती है. Okay, so let's go with the sentence or question number 88. So you see, I'll read the question out for you, the sentence out for you. One particular Friday, when Harkar and Kunthi returned to their hut after making their modest purchases of vegetables and a pound of goat's meat, Punwa and Putoli had not at the hut to welcome them. So as you might see already, let's focus on the verbs. The first verb that we get in the sentence is returned. Returned is the verb which is basically in its past form and simple past form, right? The simple past form of the verb return is returned. So the sentence, as do we understand, as the verb also implies, is basically in its simple past tense. So on particular Friday, when Harkar and Kuthi returned to their hut after making their modest purchase. So again, see, they have done an action which has happened already. So they came back after making the purchase. So we are basically referring to a time which has and some actions which have happened and not happening right now or are not scheduled to happen. So it's basically past tense, and this verb return implies that this past is basically a simple past tense, right? So the last part of the sentence becomes a bit problematic, because if you might just look at it, Panwa and Potali had not at the hut to welcome them. Now, as do we know that had is basically used in case of past perfect tense, right? But as I discussed before also, that we know this sentence was basically in simple past tense. So had does not really go with how simple past tense is formed or constructed, right? In simple past tense, as we know, that we just use the past form of the verb and not had. So standing there, we have to understand that this is a portion of the sentence which is basically incorrect because it has had in it. And if I had to speak about what would have been the right verb to place in place of had, so it will be was. So Punwa and Putoli were not at the hut because they're two, so I'll use were not at the hut to welcome them, right? So here you don't have to rectify because this is just about spotting the error. So we have spotted that the D section of question number 88 had the error in it, right? So proceeding with the next section of our question paper, the next section is basically improving sentences. So in here, what has been done, there has been certain verbs, there are certain verbs which has been underlined, and we need to come up with a definite substitution of the underlined verbs so that the sentence sound a bit more exciting and bit more appealing to the audience or to the listeners, right? So in here, let's take the question number 92. So I'll just read the question out to you. I knew that Girish had not broken the glass door. So if you look at it, I knew. So I knew is basically the past form of the verb know, right? And it's a simple past form. So I knew that Girish had not broken the glass door, had not being the verb being underlined. And the options are has not, did not, does not, no improvement. So has not is not gonna be there because has not again is something that we use in case of perfect tenses, and since has been used, it means that it is basically present perfect tense. But here the question starts with past simple past tense. Exactly why? Has which is basically used in cases of present tenses will not be applicable. Speaking about the second option, did not is actually the verb that we can actually substitute had not with, because did not again is a verb which is basically in its simple past form. The past form of do not is did not. So we can clearly substitute had not So the sentence was, I knew that Girish had not broken the glass door, right? So we could have gone with had, did not, but see, if we actually substitute had with, then in that case we cannot use the participle form of the verb broke, right? So as do we know, broken is basically the participle form, the third form of the verb break, the past form being broke. So here, as do we look at the sentence, the participle form of the verb break has been used, which is broken. So standing there, we cannot be using did not, because did not again poses the whole sentence in simple past tense, and in simple past tense we cannot be using the participle form of the verb. So standing there, हमें क्या करना है, हमें देखना है कि और क्या ऑप्शन है, तो does not तो नहीं होगा, or there is last option is no improvement. So if at all I could improve the sentence, I could have written, I knew that Girish had not broken the glass door. Either this is nice, or we can go with no improvement. So we are going to go with option D, which is basically no improvement. Right? Moving forward with our next section. So you see, the next section is basically rearranging of jumble sentences. तो मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया है कि rearrangement क्या होता है. एक सेंटेंस को हमें तोड़ के चार टुकड़ों में दिया जाता है, और हमें ये समझना होता है कि what is the actual chronology, जिसके आधार पर हम सेंटेंस को अरेंज करके उसको एक अर्थपूर्ण सेंटेंस बना सकते हैं, राइट? सो हियर आई हैव टेकन क्वेश्चन नंबर 99. So see, the jumbled portion of the sentences are, but in that train compartment, so this is section number P. The next section is yet the weather and company, which this is the next, Mr. Ritesh Vasudev is the next one. Had to bear with not only made him feel sick, but also, this is the third section. And the last section is the journey by itself was neither too long nor too boring, right? So the first thing that we need to understand is that we need to look at all of these sections to understand which one is the opening line. So if I look at the first sentence, but in that train compartment, uh, the first part. So you see, but in the train compartment is basically talking about a compartment which possibly might have been referred to before in the sentence. So just by reading but in the train compartment, it's impossible, almost impossible for us to understand which is the train compartment and what's the relevance of the train compartment being spoken about. So if I look at the next option, yet the weather and company, which Mr. Ritesh Vasudev. So again, yet needs to come after there is a situation in a sentence which is very contradictive to whatever the action of this sentence, which is having the word yet in, has. So we have not got that part of the sentence yet. Had to bear with not only made him. So him is basically a pronoun, and him को समझने के लिए पहले हमें noun समझना है. Pronoun noun के बिना नहीं रह सकता एक sentence में. तो हमें पहले noun को रखना है, उसके बाद ही हम him ले सकते हैं. The journey by itself was neither too long nor too boring. तो ये line पढ़ के हमें लगता है कि हाँ ठीक है, this line is something which has a definite and own meaning of it, and this line is not objectified by any other line in this set of jumbled sentences, right? So what we will do is we'll start with this line. The journey by itself was neither too long nor too boring. So यहाँ से लिखना start करते हैं. right? So the journey by itself was neither too long nor too boring. So ये section चला गया हमारा. ये था section number S. तो उसके बाद तो क्या बताया जा रहा है इस सेंटेंस में बेसिकली कि वो जो जर्नी था वो ना ही तो बहुत लंबा था, ना ही तो बहुत ज्यादा बोरिंग था. तो हम क्या कहते हैं, हम यूजुअली जब बात भी कर रहे होते हैं हम कहते हैं कि देखो ना, ना जर्नी लंबा था ना बोरिंग था, पर फिर भी ठीक है, फिर भी ये तो मतलब, तो ये फिर भी का जो माहौल है, ये जो फिर भी का फंडा है, तो एग्जैक्टली दैट इज वेयर वी इंट्रोड्यूस द वर्ड येट. सो द जर्नी वाज प्लेजेंट, neither boring nor long, yet the weather and company which is basically, तो ये सेक्शन हम लेंगे yet the weather and company. So ये हो गया सेक्शन नंबर Q. The weather, yet the weather and company which Mr. Ritesh Vasudev. Yet the weather and company that Mr. Ritesh Vasudev. तो अभी ये आ गया and this will be section Q. तो उसके बाद द कंपनी, कंपनी मतलब साथ में किसी का रहना. कंपनी इज बेसिकली someone who is with us and that person is present there in the atmosphere with us. So company, company of whom? So there comes the next part. The next part is company had to bear, not only made him feel sick but also, so the company was causing him something, the company that he had to bear. मतलब वो जो सह रहे थे ना, वो जो कंपनी था उनका, वो जो सह रहे थे, so had to bear basically मतलब सहना. So had to bear with not only made himself will be the next section. So this is section number R. And the last section which is left is section number P. So that's got to be the last section of our sentence. He wished he was anywhere else but in the train compartment. He wished he was anywhere else but the train compartment. So now if you look at the chronology, it is S, Q, R, P. Which brings us to the first option, which is option number A. The very important thing about understanding how to do jumble sentences, how to rearrange them, is understanding the exact information around which the other things of the sentence revolves around. So here you see this line, the journey by itself was neither too long nor too boring, is basically a line which is not dependent on any other sentence for giving itself a meaning, right? This line itself stands for its own meaning, and exactly why I chose this to be the opening line. So this was basically the last section of the English paper as we had seen in 2022 SPI GAT exams. So if you wish to learn more tricks like that. So what you need to do is you need to find us on Instagram. This is our Instagram handle. We are there by the name of Adhyan Defense Academy. You can have us subscribed and follow us there. And if you want to stay updated with the latest news and the videos that we post, we make series of videos where we explain students the concepts as you might have in English and other subjects also that are there in the exams. And we post everything on Telegram. So you please have the Telegram channel that we have subscribed as soon as possible. Speaking about English, since I am mostly taking English only in Adhyan Defense Academy, so I think I can arrange lectures for you, and do let me know in the comment section that what exactly would you want me to make my next video on. And I think I'll be doing some sessions on comprehension so that you can understand that how exactly can you easily crack the comprehension as presented in the paper, and to know more tricks and how to do the English paper a bit better. So you keep us subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.